Welcome to this MADiE training video on STU6 test case validations in MADiE. In this session, we will walk through how validation works for test cases tied to STU6 measures, with a focus on how asynchronous validations improve efficiency and user experience. We will cover how to identify and fix validation errors, what warnings mean, and why some warnings may persist even after updates. Whether you're new to MADiE or just getting started with STU6, this video will help you understand how validation fits into your workflow and how to make the most of the tools available. Before we dive in, let's quickly define what it means for a test case to be considered valid under STU6. A valid STU6 test case includes all required data elements, uses codes that align with the appropriate value set bindings, and passes automated validation without errors. It does not reflect testing of the logic and intent of the measure, or ensuring that the expected results match the actual outcome. Validation's main goal is to help you confirm that your test case is structured correctly and that it meets all STU6 requirements. Let's begin. In MADiE, validations happen automatically in the background after you save a test case. You don't need to manually trigger it or wait for a page refresh. It's designed to run quietly and efficiently while you continue working. You can continue working in the same test case, or you can navigate away to a different test case, or even log out of MADiE. The test case will still validate. When a test case is saved, it's placed in a validation queue, and validation status is set to pending. After a short delay, you'll see the status update from pending to either valid or invalid. This asynchronous approach means you can save multiple test cases and move on without interruption. It also ensures that validation results are always current based on the latest data you've entered. Let's look at the process of this asynchronous validation. Here I'm saving the test case, and you can see the success message that indicates to please continue working in MADiE. Now over here we have our green check mark. That indicates that the test case validation is done and my test case is valid. Clicking this will open the validation panel. Here you can see any errors, warnings, or info messages returned from the validator. This test case is valid with no errors or warnings. Let's return to the test case list page. In addition to all of the validations, the test case list page has been updated to easily see what test cases are valid or invalid. Here is the validation percentage. It indicates how many of my test cases are passing. Next, we have the validation column. It quickly shows if a test case is valid or invalid prior to the user opening the test case. This column is sortable. My first click sorts the column ascending, bringing my invalid test case to the top. Something to highlight here, if a test case is pending or invalid, the pass-fail status will also be invalid, as the test case will not be ran in those two states. This may cause passing percentage to differ if you run when test cases are still pending. Let's look at this test case. Here you see an orange triangle to indicate this test case is invalid. Let's open the validation panel and see what the error messages are. The first error message reads, encounter.status minimum required equals 1, but only found 0. What this means is the encounter resource has a required status element that is currently missing. Let's add it. This first resource is a patient resource. We are looking for an encounter resource. So let's collapse it so that we have more room to see the resources that matter. The next resource is encounter. This is what we are looking for. Let's scroll down and add our status element. Enter here and start typing status in progress. And save. You can see the validation returned back very quickly, with this error and an error from the validator saying, failed to parse JSON. This means our JSON is not formatted correctly. Looking at what I just added, I forgot to add a comma at the end of the line. Let's add it and save again. That fixed the syntax error, but we have another error. This error reads, element status invalid attribute value in progress. Unknown encounter status code in progress. Oops, I got heavy fingered and typed one too many S's, and now this code doesn't match a valid code from the required binding. Let's remove one S. We'll scroll up and collapse the patient resource again. Then scroll down to our status. Now remove the S and save again. Here is a good example of the test case being in a pending status. This spinner here indicates the test case is pending validation. Sometimes test cases validate very quickly, and sometimes it can take a bit longer. It depends on the complexity of the test case, as well as how many users are actively validating test cases. Our validation has returned, and the test case is now valid. You can see I do have a warning. This is an example of a common warning a user may receive. It is telling us the code utilized in this attribute in the test case is not the preferred or recommended binding. This warning will appear for users to alert them that they may have used an incorrect code. If the code is correct, no further action is needed. Speaking of warnings, in MADiE, validation relies on expanded value sets, either through VSAC or using an in-memory validation expansion bundle that was created specifically for MADiE. However, not all value sets can be expanded successfully. Some value sets are extremely large. Others may be located in external repositories or structured in a way that prevents full expansion for MADiE. When a measure references one of these value sets, MADiE will not be able to confirm whether the code used in your test case is part of the intended value set. As a result, you'll see a warning, even if the code is technically correct. These warnings are informational and do not block validation or measure release. We're actively working to improve value set coverage and expansion capabilities. But for now, it's important to understand that some warnings may remain due to these technical limitations. That wraps up our training on STU6 test case validations in MADiE. We hope this walkthrough gave you the clarity and confidence to navigate validations more effectively. If you'd like to explore more resources, be sure to check out the MADiE User Guide, other documents on the MADiE Training and Resources tab, the QI Core STU6 profile definitions, as well as the other MADiE training videos available on the CMS YouTube channel. If you encounter issues or have specific questions, you can open a help desk ticket by visiting the MADiE issue tracker on ONC Jira. Please ensure you provide the MADiE team with as much detail as possible, including the measure name and ID, the test case ID, the measure and test case export, and any error messages you are seeing. This helps our support team respond quickly and accurately. Thanks again for watching, and be sure to look out for future MADiE training videos.